Ladies and gentlemen,
coward.
You are now listening to Retro Radio.
Welcome to another edition of Retro Radio, your weekly online source for classic emulation news and information. I'm Shane R. Monroe, your host. It's great to have you listening. This week we take a look at the emulator RAINE, look at a kick-ass game for the C64 called Realms of Impossibility, and finally I share another classic tale from the Shane R. Monroe arcade archives entitled You Don't Get Nothing for Free, a PacMan Tale of Woe. With all the hoopla going on about the big two emulators, MAME and RetroCade, spoken in alphabetical order to avoid showing favoritism, I think it is time for another emulator to shine in the spotlight. This week, RAINE, the DOS-based Rainbow Islands emulator that emulates a hell of a lot more than just Rainbow Islands. In fact, about 60 games are emulated, mostly 68,000 CPU-based games. Many are not found in the big two emulators, so this makes RAINE worth a look. The super-fast Starscream 68,000 engine from Neil Corlett is damn fast, and with the latest release, many games now have sound. Also released, there's a speed-up of Taito F3 games, and Arkanoid Returns actually plays faster than Arkanoid does in MAME. So what does RAINE offer the emulation user? Well, let me tell you what got me into RAINE. Since most of the games are 68,000 based, they're a little more modern. I know what you're saying, but Shane, you don't like modern arcade games. But there are a handful that I did indeed play before leaving the arcades. The main game in RAINE for me, Ninja Warriors. Now, for those of you that might have missed Ninja Warriors in the arcade, let me tell you about it. First, it was damn big. The top portion is 33 inches deep by 33.5 inches wide, and the entire cabinet is 72 inches tall. There are 3 screens melded together horizontally providing the play field. And you can read this as you need to play this game in the emulator in very high res mode, at least 800 by 600. The arcade I played it at had the volume up really loud, for one good reason. The game's sounds are kick-ass. The game is basically a horizontal scroller, up to 2 players cooperative. You play a male or female robot ninja rubbing out numerous enemies, mostly military types, soldiers, attack dogs, etc., plus some mob creatures and a boss at the end of each level. Fairly typical. The play is a lot like many other games of this genre. You fight with a knife, hand-to-hand, and ninja throwing stars as your distance weapon. One of the coolest parts of this game is that as you take damage, your body starts to deteriorate properly. It's really subtle, and a lot of times you don't really see it happening until you're really close to death. That was a great touch. So what puts this game ahead of others in the genre? Well, with 3 screens, the resolution, detail, and graphics are sweet, very clean. Reminds me a lot of Narc for some reason. But the sound, damn it, it rocks. The music is kicking. Got that little techno beat to it. And the sound effects are high quality, especially the yelping sound of the attack dogs when you take them down. The gameplay has some neat goodies involved, like fighting a tank and weird, freaky, long-armed creatures. And as the game progresses, the enemy starts attacking differently, kind of like Green Beret Russian attack style by jumping or ducking to attack, throwing a whole new strategy on the game. Most importantly, the game had the atmosphere, that magical quality that drags your ass away from whatever games you were playing in the arcade to come and watch and play it. Fantastic stuff. Up until the latest release of RAINE, this game didn't have sound, keeping me from playing it. You know what a sound buff I am. In the last RAINE that I received, sound was absolutely great, although after playing for a while, the sound started to lag a little bit. At the time of writing, I didn't have the final version, so I cannot confirm or deny whether or not this is fixed. But I could personally give a crap. It worked long enough for me to get a great Ninja Warriors rush. Anyway, back to RAINE. As I mentioned earlier, RAINE is a DOS-based emulator that seems to work fine under Windows 95 and 98. As with all DOS emulators, don't expect it to perform well or at all under Windows NT. Those of you been on the front ends, RAINE has a slick built-in GUI interface that will get you configured and ready to run quickly. Games can be stored in zip format, thus saving you a lot of space. The ROMs for RAINE are large, like Capcom and Neo Geo ROMs. As with all DOS emulators, if you have a high-tech Windows card, expect to need Cytex display docker to run the game in the higher or odd resolutions. Most excellent enough, there are no samples, sound samples, required for RAINE. So what does RAINE play? Well, in addition to Ninja Warriors and, of course, the Rainbow Island games, we've got the most coveted Cabal with sound, Rodland, Darius, Elevator Action 2, several Operation Wolf versions, Puzzle Bobble 2 and 3, Rastan 2, and the initial Rastan, which runs at faster speeds than MAME, Superman, WrestleFest, WWF Stars, Warrior Blade, and God, so much more. Yes, the speed is excellent. Nearly everything that is considered playable is actually playable on my P200 MMX with a medium-end video card, the Rendition V1000 base Screaming 3D from Sierra. All of this with sound. Now, remember, I am using a late beta, and the actual release may perform better than the beta that I'm using. My personal feelings on RAINE, very clean, damn clean, and in fact, cleaner than MAME in execution and presentation. RetroCade still does look a little prettier and is definitely more aesthetically pleasing in the user interface. However, those of you using MAME will be surprised and delighted at what RAINE has to offer you in the way of user input. I can use my Sidewinder Game Pro with it in Windows with excellent performance. Quite frankly, the only thing I can honestly say is the only reason I hadn't tried this emulator before was the lack of sound. My guess is that most people haven't tried this emulator because, one, it isn't MAME, which, believe it or not, is a major reason people don't try other emulators, or two, because of its lack of sound. Well, there's no excuse. There's probably a game in this emulator for everybody. If nothing else, get it now and try out Ninja Warriors. If you like games like Rolling Thunder, Shinobi, and Green Beret, you'll love it. This emulator is polished, fast, and what I would call in the videotape realm, a sleeper. Something that doesn't get near the press it deserves and completely rocks, even though there isn't a superstar in it. Hey, if nothing else, get it for Operation Wolf. The first, I think, light gun emulated game out there. And besides, it rocks. So how do you get this masterpiece of emulation? Hit their homepage at www.rainemu.com. That's RAINEMU.com. Then nip on over to davesclassics.com. I'm sure everybody knows where that's at. And get the ROMs. Now, remember, the ROMs are big, folks. Some of them are neat and tidy, like 200K or so. But a majority of them are huge, like 3 megabytes plus, which is what Ninja Warriors falls into. Now, remember, there aren't any samples to worry about. And when you hear Ninja Warriors soundtrack and killer sounds, it'll be a lot easier to swallow the 3 megabyte size. Just get it. You'll love it. Now, let's get on to the next part of the show, a look back at an 8-bit emulated classic game. Last week, I brought Hover Bubber back into the world, a Jeff Minter C64 classic featuring the player mowing his lawn with a stolen lawnmower and the angry mower owner chasing you trying to retrieve his property. Now throw a dog in trying to piss on and subsequently disable your lawnmower, and damn it, you got game. Amazingly enough, I've gotten emails, chat sessions with listeners praising and cursing me for introducing or reintroducing them to such a great classic game. Since I'm an old C64 hand, as if you didn't know it already, previous shows are more or less a pretty dead giveaway, I'll be looking at another C64 obscure classic this week. My goal in this section of the show is to bring the listener back to a classic game that perfectly demonstrates what makes retro gaming so much damn fun. The gameplay. Play without the flash of full-motion video cutscenes, without tri-filtering, anti-aliasing 16 megabyte texture memory, and without throwing the player back into the same old game with the same old engine, with the same old plot, with the same old weapons. This week we look at the classic Realms of Impossibility, one of the early Electronic Arts games before they started cloning a dozen sport games every year. As with most 8-bit games, Realms of Impossibility was available for a multitude of platforms, including Atari, C64, and Apple II. But as usual with the C64's incredible VIC-2 video chip and SID sound chip, this game was wicked gnarly on the C64. Realms of Impossibility could best be summed up as one of the earliest examples of the arcade RPG, which Legends of Zelda for the Nintendo turned into a multi-million-dollar industry. Realms of Impossibility also brought forth one of the first isometric view games, which is probably most popularly brought forth in Diablo. Unlike its modern-day cousins, Realms of Impossibility worked more like Zelda. The rooms or areas didn't scroll with you per se. You moved to the edge of the room and it would smoothly shift completely to the next room before you could continue. The gameplay overall was pretty simple. Select a level with really cool names. Some had to be unlocked from other levels, and retrieve a key from somewhere on that level and get back out. Sure, monsters galore. Spiders, snakes, zombies, all the basic nasties. Treacheries abound, bridges, ladders, areas you can't see yourself, lava, and much more. In your quest, you don't have a weapon per se. Rather, you gather spells to cast to help you out. Spells like freeze, confuse, protect. As you're touched by creatures, your hit points dwindle away. Faster, of course, with the nastier creatures. And when you're out of hit points, you're dead. Period. The levels are very well thought out. Some of them even maybe being a bit too evil. In other words, some levels are difficult to figure out. Just finding the key itself is a pain in the ass. Zelda people should really like this game. One of Realms of Impossibility's biggest strengths is that of multiplayer. With all the talk of multiplayer death matches in today's gaming, I think the world forgot about multiplayer cooperation games like Realms of Impossibility. Most modern games that demonstrate the power of good cooperative play are games like 1943 and Gauntlet. Sure, you're working towards the same goal, but heaven forbid you leave some goodies away from your buddies. With 1943, you could actually save your friend's ass by sharing your energy between the both of you by sitting on top of each other for a second or two, splitting the energy between you. Now, games that you work together and can actually help each other in the time of crisis, other than covering each other's back, are far and few between. Hell, I can't even think of another game other than 1943 and Realms of Impossibility where you could actually save each other like that. In Realms of Impossibility, you and the other player cooperatively get the key. Wait, I know. The clever people in the audience are thinking, but wait. If you got to move to the edge of the screen to move to the next one, what happens to the other player when the other player leaves the screen? That's the best part. You both have to push against the edge of the screen at the same time. Yep, you got it. You being dexterous and studly make it to the edge of the screen quick. But your Neo Geo game-playing buddy is getting his ass eaten alive in the corner trying to snag the spell scroll. Seconds later, he lies dead, and the monsters seek new prey, namely you. So you run back to your buddy, losing a dozen hit points or two, and touch him, giving him 10 hit points and another lease on life. Just a little sidetrack here. I still remember spending the night at my friend's house and his mom coming into his bedroom where we were playing Realms of Impossibility together, wondering why in the hell we kept screaming out, touch me, damn it, touch me now. If you want my help, you better touch me. Yeah, those were the good old days. Needless to say, I wasn't invited over much after that. Anyway, this killer C64 disc image, as well as just about everything else ever made for the C64, can be found at the FTP site arnold.c64.org on port 6502, most appropriate. And you do this with an anonymous login. If you're not familiar with FTP, you gotta learn. Most of the best places to get the goods in emulation are FTP sites. In the future, if emulation becomes even more illegal or the gray area decides to get a little bit more black, you may need to learn how to use FTP sites if you want to stay in the emulation game. Of course, you might be able to get a friend to help you out. Once you get the ROMs, go get yourself a quality emulator for the C64 at www.computerbrains.com. They got the best one in the business. Now I'd like to wrap the show up with another classic arcade tale from my past entitled, You Don't Get Nothing for Free, a PacMan Tale of Woe. When I was in my early teens, my mother and I worked at an entertainment place, cleaning it before it opened. This was a pool hall, arcade, snack bar, pull tab sort of place. We'd get up early, go in, clean up, and get the place ready before I'd go to school. My job, of course, was cleaning the arcade area. Now, let me tell you something, folks. You take a young teen boy, put him unattended in an arcade area, and you can bet your ass he'll find a way to leech a free game off one of the machines. My personal treachery began with Space Invaders. While cleaning the display glass, I noticed you could actually lift the ridge at the bottom of the glass. How much to my delight, I found the glass actually could be slipped out and pulled forward. Access into the cabinet. I wonder if I could get my arm down there to the coin door. Not that I would have taken any money, mind you. I just wanted a credit. Well, how do you like that? I can get down there. Now, where's that little coin mechanism? Ding, click, credit, click, credit, click, 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 click. So naturally, I played a buttload of Space Invaders. Soon I began to wonder about other games, which rotated through, and eventually Space Invaders left. Well, then PacMan showed up. I started putting a couple of quarters a week in it. Hey, it wasn't my favorite game, but at the time, it was Vogue. Even before people knew what Vogue was. One day a quarter got stuck, and I smacked the coin door. Coin return, busted, of course. The damn quarter wouldn't come out, so I smacked around the door in different places trying to dislodge the coin. Yeah, I was a little pissed. So I started smacking in rapid succession. All of a sudden, where I was smacking the coin door started racking up credits. Woohoo! I'm back in the game playing business again, and for free. Well, as any route operator will tell you, they quickly learn the games that people are cheating out of free credits, and PacMan was fixed within a couple of weeks. Damn it. Disappointed but not discouraged, I noticed that the PacMan display glass was awfully similar to the Space Invaders glass, and you guys thought that Space Invaders bit was just filler, didn't you? Well, unfortunately with PacMan, the glass is a little more horizontal than vertical. So I couldn't really hold the glass up with one hand and get to the coin mechanism so well. Solution? Remove the glass. So I'd take the glass off, max out the credits, and put it back. Now, anyone seeing where this is going? First of all, you don't put a heavy 3x3 foot piece of glass on a little tiny bar stool seat. Well, you can imagine what might have happened. What you cannot imagine, what you could not possibly realize, is the gut-wrenching, nauseating, head-spinning, oh damn, my life is over feeling that passed through my body when I lifted the glass to return it, and it shattered like only safety glass can do. Yeah, have you ever had a really big scare like that? Realized your life is at a major decision gate and it's a lose-lose situation? Now, I don't know how many of you out there have actually ever priced an original PacMan display glass complete with original artwork in mint condition. Well, let's just say a poor young teen doesn't have the bucks in his piggy bank to replace a $100 piece of glass. Working it off over the following months wasn't nearly as bad as my mom taking me to the owner of the place and making me fess up not only to breaking the glass, which I thought I could probably get out of, saying I was cleaning it or something, but also my little pilfering of credits over the previous months. He was a scary, hard man anyway, even in passing, let alone popping off with something like this. Needless to say, it was scary and bad enough to make a huge impression on me, even to this day. And I'd like to really thank all of you for sharing with me this little slice of life, and I hope it was at least a bit entertaining. And for the younger viewers, a good lesson. What you take for free will eventually come back and bite you in the ass, or worse yet, your wallet. Well, folks, that's about ready to wrap it up. We are out of time. As always, thank you to my steadfast listeners, not only for listening, but for the kind emails you've sent me over these last months. You guys are the best, and you make it all worthwhile. I'm hoping to secure the Digital Leisure interview soon. I know you've all been writing. He is still very interested, but he's a very busy man. I appreciate all of your emails with regards to your questions, with regards to Digital Leisure, and I hope to have the answers for you soon. Along with this show this week, I introduce a new Monroe World. It's totally been re-overhauled, new graphics, new navigation system. Should be a lot more friendly for those of you without plugins and for those of you with a 640 by 480 display. I'd really appreciate any feedback you had on it. Hopefully it will also solve a couple of the JavaScript problems that people were having with the page. Anyway, until next week, my name is Shane R. Monroe from www.monroeworld.com. Until next week,